Welcome to the world of exploration. Welcome to the world of learning. Let's start exploring. Let's start learning. This is your very own educator, Sukriti Joshi, ma'am. Your very own educator, teacher, philosopher, guide, mentor, preacher, guru, one and all. And this is the one-stop destination wherein we can all connect and form beautiful, beautiful, exquisite bonds. Right? In today's session, basically, I am going to touch upon certain, give me a moment, on certain important factors regarding CBT. So, just give me a moment. I'll be sharing this whiteboard. I hope it is visible. All right. So, yeah. So, I'll be talking about CBT exam, and I would be basically delineating or discussing about PGT English exam. So, PGT English exam, and therefore I would be keeping in mind and keeping in purview all the English questions and touching upon them. All right, so the first question being, what is the meaning of the term hamartia as used by Aristotle in the theory of tragedy? So when we, as readers tend to make use of the term hamartia, what do we actually mean? So by hamartia, it's basically a weak trait in the character, uh, or the hero. So when we see any particular protagonist or any particular hero, there's a flaw in his character. So any weak trait in the character that is termed as hamartia. Now, the second question, the term anagnorisis as used by Aristotle means, what does it mean? So anagnorisis, which means the hero's recognition of his tragic flaw. So when the hero actually realizes um, what is the tragic flaw uh in him, so he discovers, basically he explores. So that is the moment when we call when the term anagnorisis has been used, and it has been, you can relate it with, you can have associations, so you can associate it with AA, so Aristotle anagnorisis, right? And similarly, Hamartia, keep that in mind that it is talking about the tragic flaw. Then we come on to who rejects the pathological theory of catharsis, that theater is not a hospital. So basically, it is F.L. Lucas. So we are talking about Lucas over here, that he rejects the pathological theory of catharsis. Again, catharsis is something that, when you have purgation of emotions. So, the pathological theory of catharsis, and the theory is not. So, who is rejecting the pathological theory over here of catharsis? That theater is not a hospital. So that theater is not something wherein people are just going in for entertainment and for their own pleasure, or for to invoke emotions, right? It's not that place. It was F.L. Lucas. Then Aristotle declared that plot is the most useful. So according to Aristotle, he declared that plot is basically the soul. So according to him, plot was the soul, right? So plot is the most useful aspect, so to say. So who defines criticism as the play of mind on the aesthetic qualities of literature? It is Atkins. Atkins, right? So who defines criticism as the play of mind on the aesthetic qualities of literature? So Atkins. That criticism as the play of mind on the aesthetic qualities. So we see aesthetic. You know what is the meaning of aesthetic? Aesthetic is something that is, that appears to be beautiful. So and you can see that how criticism is very different from aestheticism. When we talk about aesthetic, right? Aestheticism or aesthetic literature, it is very different, right? So Atkins, AA, aesthetic Atkins. Then what is the first and foremost function of literary critic? It is to distinguish between a good book and bad book. So when we talk about literary critics, they are the ones who basically distinguish between what is a good book and what is a bad one. In reality, there is no such bad book, but yeah, they are the ones who are telling you which book you should go in for, and they are the ones who are commenting. For example, nowadays you do have on YouTube, on Insta, on Facebook, on Snapchat, on I don't know, all these platforms, social media platforms, you do get to see that how people comment. So similarly, they were the critics, and they could distinguish between what is good and what is not, right? Then what type of men do tragedy and epic represent? So normally good men. So what type of men do tragedy and epic represent? So when we talk about tragedy and when we talk about epic, epic is something that is very, very long, and that is, holding the essence. So they are normally good men. So when we talk about tragedy, in tragedy also good men are there, and in epic all most of the times, when we talk about epics, for example, we do have in India, mythological epics are there. In Greek literature again, we do have epics. So they have good characters, right? So which work of Aristotle is the most famous in the history of criticism? The Poetics. So again, the Poetics is something that holds a pivotal place, and Aristotle states that um, what is his state? Which work of Aristotle is the most famous in his history of criticism? So, in his history of criticism, again, so we are talking about history of criticism. So we are we are having historical criticism. We have we are talking about history of criticism. So over there we have the Poetics. So for example, just imagine that you just have to imagine, it's not the reality, but we are just talking about just Aristotle writing poems, right? So you can just remember it like that. You can just have associations, and you just can try to remember it through that. So then, who was the teacher and most important literary cricket I was saying cricket. No, don't say cricket. It's critic. What is happening with me? All right, doesn't matter. So, which work of Aristotle is the most famous that we have done? The Poetics. Then, who was the teacher and the most important literary critic before Aristotle? So, before Aristotle, who was the literary critic who was very important? It was Plato. So, Plato was the first person, then Aristotle came. Like, Plato was placed at the pedestal. So you can remember it like PP. So you can have association like that. So Plato was placed at the center, at the first place, right? So PP, you can remember it like first place as well. So Plato, and then came Aristotle, right? So Sydney's apology for poetry is an example of theoretical criticism. So Sydney's apology for poetry. Sydney's we again get to see that Sydney was a writer. So Sydney's apology for poetry is is an is an example of theoretical what is happening with me? Theoretical criticism. Then, who considers poetry to be the mother of lies? Now, who consider poetry to be the mother of lies? How can you say that poetry is the mother of lies? Who said it? Who must have said it? Now tell me. Can you guess? Anyone? So it was Plato, right? Plato said it that poetry is the mother of lies. Now, how many chapters are there in poetics? So we get to see that there are 26. So you can remember it like seven. So there are in totality 26 chapters, right? In poetics. In poetics. Now, who commented that even today the poetics continues to be studied and prescribed as textbooks in schools and colleges? It was F.L. Lucas again, right? So who commented that even today that poetics continues to be studied and prescribed as textbooks in schools and colleges? It was F.L. Lucas. Earlier also we had seen that the question pertaining to F.L. Lucas, right? So what was it? It was who rejects the pathological theory of catharsis. That theater is not a hospital. That theater is not a hospital wherein people can just go and they can um just do away with their emotions or do away with they can just go and have uh, some sort of relaxation. No, it wasn't the case, right? Then what term has Aristotle used for the weakness, error, or fault in character of the tragic hero? Again, it is hamartia that we have discussed. So that was the term that Aristotle used for the weakness, error, or fault, or fault in a character or in a hero, right? Of the tragic hero. How many formative elements does Aristotle consider for the great tragedy? Six. Remember, it is six. Six elements are there. All right. How many formative elements does Aristotle consider for the great tragedy? Six. And you can even remember that how many chapters are there in Poetics? Again, we have 26. 6 comes at the end, but yeah, remember 26. So in Poetics, how many chapters are there? 26. Who considers Longinus as the first comparative critic of literature? So it is Abercrombie, right? So who considers Longinus as the first comparative critic of literature? It is Abercrombie, Abercrombie, right? Then you need to remember this because this is complicated. This is a complicated question that who considers Longinus as the first comparative critic of literature? Comparative critic who compares, right? So it is Abercrombie. You just can remember it like comparative. So com is coming, so Abercrombie, right? Then, in whose opinion Longinus' classicism was touched with romance? So it is Scott James. In whose opinion Longinus' classicism was touched with romance? So it is Scott James, right? In whose opinion, again I'm repeating, in whose opinion Longinus' classicism was touched with romance? Scott James. Longinus declares that sublime please all and please always. So Longinus even declares that sublime please all and please always. So it pleases everyone and it pleases everyone always, right? When we talk about the concept of sublimity, so we are talking in terms of the concept of sublimity over here. Clear? So we are talking in terms of sublimity. And and who considers Longinus as the first comparative critic? It was Abercrombie, right? Then Longinus says that great literature springs from great and lofty souls. So Longinus says that great literature springs from great and lofty souls. Great literature obviously would come from great and lofty souls, like me, like the great people, right? who are having the ideal and the ideal and sublime thoughts. So from us, the great work would spring. Clear? Then, regarding noble diction, Longinus thinks that beautiful words are in truth the very light of thought. So, regarding noble diction, when we are talking about noble diction, Longinus thinks that beautiful words are truth. So, according to Longinus, beautiful words are truth. Obviously, when we talk about beauty is truth and truth is beauty, you can associate, you can have a connection with that as well. So, according to Longinus, beautiful words are in truth the very light. So they are acting as a kind of a torch. They are the very light of thought, right? Very nice statement. Very nice quote. In fact, they are the very light of thought, right? For example, if I have sublime thoughts, for example, if something springs, beautiful springs, some lofty thought springs, that would act as a kind of light for uh, uh, as the very light of thought, right? So with this, I come to the end of this session, and I hope you liked it. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Do like, share, and subscribe to my channel, right? And on daily basis, I'll be there, and I'll be uploading on this particular channel, and I hope that we all get selected and we can form a beautiful community. I'll be sharing my Telegram link in the comment section below. Anyone who is preparing for CBT exam for DAV can join the Telegram group. If you want me to come up with uh, other questions as well, like which you feel they are difficult, I would be more than happy. I would be, in fact, ecstatic to answer them all. Thank you. Please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. This is Sukriti Joshi signing off. Namaste, Radhe Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna.